So we talked previously too about the connection that you guys have established, and I think it serves both groups equally beneficially. Talking about the outdoor group with Mandarins and the indoor group with Monarch, having a consistent staff, a lot of familiar faces that do both, and membership that do both. So, what has that kind of marriage been like? Have there been like conversations with like the Mandarins admin and like, yeah, we'd like to bring on our people from like Monarch. We've all done this together. Or when you got that gig, were they like, hey, we have these people, or go get your own people, or what's that? What was that situation?
So the Monarch team, part of the reason it's doing well is I think we were talking about this a little earlier. We just like being together. It's fun to go to rehearsal. It's fun to go to lunch. It's like it's a positive environment, not just from staff to staff, but staff to members, members to members. It's the vibe is right, um, and that's not the case everywhere. I think it's more common than it used to be, but anyways, when I got the opportunity at Mandarins, which was a really unique one because I took the gig going into what ended up being the COVID year. And there were moments then where it's like, well, just started a new gig and now I have all these challenges, which would have been hard, staying somewhere you were familiar with. So we had to build the team and obviously recruit students and, prepare for a pretty wild summer. So we kind of survived that and kind of kept the thing going. But as far as the actual question, I think is how do you establish the team and how does that work? But administratively, they're very different groups. They don't feel connected at all from a percussion level. The first thing I do is I call the people I trust. Taha, Ahmed, who I think you guys have spoken with, Andy Filipiak. Um, those guys are the coordinators for me right now as far as battery and front ensemble coordinators. Andy, Brian, who we've talked about previously, designed with me at Monarch. We have a style and a sound that we're proud of, and we again enjoy working together. It's not only just the design side of it, but like just the process, especially these days, sharing files, like how you name your files and what you use as far as like Sibelius to Finale to Main Stage to Logic to we've got a process that we're very comfortable with. So it was an easy decision to bring those guys on because I think those are two people that what we're going to sound like before we show up. We have an identity, we have a style of teaching, we have a process that we yields results. So Taha kind of helped me bring on a couple of the people that he'd been with, whether it be at Monarch or he was previously with Blue Knights, and we're actually adding a couple more of those people to our team this next year. And Andy's got all his relationships with he was at Boston for 8 years and has some students and people that taught with that Monarch. So I think again when you're tasked to play at that level, the first thing is like, okay, who do I trust to do this? I get applications and people ask all the time, and I'm excited to work with and meet new people, but especially when you're starting off, you got to know you're going to be good before you get there, and those are some of the guys that's going to happen. So
Yeah, that's I mean, like you said, people that you trust and people that you like to be around because it is a grueling summer. So you got to be able to have friends that be like call you out when you're acting crazy or tell you you have a dumb idea, but also people that be like, all right, I got you, and you know they're gonna get stuff done out on the field and just work their butt off to make it right for the program, for the show, for the kids, and all that top to bottom.
yeah, man, and I need people that are going to challenge me and do the same thing you just said. Like when I'm being an idiot, I need somebody to sit me down and be like, "Hey, dude, can you chill out? Like we're good." Like, okay, all right, thanks, man. It's I think we all feel that pressure when we're there, and those are guys that we're all comfortable doing that with each other. It's not just a working relationship. We're able to separate kind of the friendship and the hang, when we're working, but there are moments where I get a little heated and get a little silly or get a little stupid, and they can calm me down and kind of get my priorities back in place as well. Which I'd like to think I help them do the same the other way. But yeah,
But yeah, full circle too. Like there's not many gigs out, so sometimes you feel the pressure because obviously there is a competitive aspect to it. We all love drumming and playing and just percussion and marching band and drum corps and indoor, but there is also that competitive aspect about it where people are like, "Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? Like, or where are we at?" Like, so you try to like have a a good pulse on like, am I just like reacting out of like the pressure of the situation, or like am I just like having a bad day or something? So I do not envy that at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely a lot of pressure.
Well,
So
since we're talking about Taha, I'll go ahead and bring this up real quick, briefly. I actually, because I marched with him, you mentioned Evan and I have had him on here for an episode before, and so we know him pretty well. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, we're actually having Ben on to talk on the podcast today. Do you have anything we should bring up that might, embarrassing, spark funny stories, whatever?" And he said, "You should ask him about the time he rage quit the Monarch group me because we all gave him a hard time when he thought he lost his car." So I have to know, what the heck's he talking about?
All right, so there's this running joke, of course, that I have a lot of different things happening at the same time. So unfortunately, there are times when I'm supposed to go out to Monarch and it just doesn't happen. Like UTSA rehearses on the weekends as well, and I run that group, so I can't, I don't leave that very often or whatever. So this one time I've got this weekend, and they've kind of, allotted some time for me to work on whether it be a specific section of the show or just kind of react, to some of the stuff that I was writing. And I come outside to get in my car, and my car is gone. Like, okay, I must have parked somewhere else, or maybe I'm just tripping, maybe it's here. So I circle the entire parking lot, and I can't find my car anywhere. So, of course, I text the group me, "Hey, guys, I don't know when or if I'm going to make it out. I can't find my car." And if you know the Monarch team at all, I love them to death, but they don't take much seriously outside of the work. It's like we're going to rag on each other pretty hard. And of course, that's when the group me blows up immediately with the "dude, where's my car" gifs and memes and all sorts of stuff. And I was not happy at the time.
this isn't where I park my car.
Yeah, when you're missing your car, that's not necessarily like, "Oh, oops, okay, whatever."
No,
it's
yeah,
like,
that's a big deal.
I'm freaking out a little bit.
Understandably.
The car was found. I got my car. It was actually illegally towed. I don't know if somebody called something on it or whatever, so it had been towed out of my own parking lot. I actually got a full month's worth of rent free at the apartment complex I was
Nice.
staying at. But yeah, there was something weird. I still don't really understand what happened, but I had to go get my car from the towing lot or whatever, and ended up not making it out. But yeah, I after the stream of memes and gifs or gifs or whatever they're called, I'd kind of had enough and just left the group chat so I could find my car in peace.
That's funny.
Oh, dude, yeah,
man,
that's like salt. That's like salt in a wound.
It's like, I'm not kidding. I can't find it. It's not like I don't know where it is. It's like, it's gone.
Yeah, guys, I'm not in the mood to be ragged on right now. I literally can't find my vehicle. That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out well for you. You got a free month of rent, so I guess that's a win.
Yeah.
Like consolidation, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
So,
But yeah, man, you mentioned the UTSA thing, so that's just funny too, because like you're talking about, sometimes I'm just busy, like, well, this pays like my healthcare and stuff, so yeah, I gotta do this. When did you get the UTSA gig? Which, for anybody who's not familiar with the acronym, University of Texas at San Antonio, and where you said you're the director of percussion athletics, or is that right?
Yeah, the athletic percussion program up there. So this is my 6th year there. I can't even believe it now. Been in San Antonio for 6 years. Go Runners, man. We're 7-0. I don't know if you call it college football fans out there, but we're typically not very good. And I just saw we are now ranked number 24 in the AP poll.
Ooh,
nice.
That's you and me both, because I grew up in Lexington and follow Kentucky sports, and we are 6-1, which is, I feel, a very respectable one, where we just lost to Georgia. But yeah, not typically ranked number 11 or whatever we were in the country. So
yeah, well, it's been a fun year, and I pretty much do all of the arranging and teaching. I teach both the front and the battery. Very, very different gig than all of the other things we've been talking about. I actually struggled with that early on. I was a drum corps guy, a competitive high school guy, indoor guy, and I get out here and we're working on Rihanna and Selena charts, and it doesn't really matter if they're great. It just needs to stay together. It needs to be high energy, and but again, it's just such a different gig. I teach all of the sections. If we have a grad assistant, they'll help me out. But just trying to manage the group. We've been up to I think 60 members big in the percussion section. So we get large, a lot of hands to get the move at the same time. So, but yeah, we also do in the spring, we started the indoor percussion, which is kind of unique, especially in Texas. There's not a lot of universities that are doing that. And that gig, unlike most university gigs, we're UTSA students only. We don't open this up to the public. You have to enroll into the class. They get a credit, for taking the course, which we actually took the group to Dayton in 2019. And everybody's kind of joking with me because kind of parallel to how Monarch did, we ended up getting 7th place, made it PIO finals our first year going out there, which again is a super unique experience. We try to treat it more as an education. Like, this is how you do indoor. We take them through how we actually make the budget, and how we actually get a sketch from a uniform company, and how we actually design a floor. In the COVID year, we actually went through and did a design course and brought in a bunch of people, just worked with the students, put them in design teams, front person, a battery person, a color guard person, and kind of help them design their own program.
That sounds awesome.
Really cool.
I'm not gonna lie, because I just was thinking about that in comparison to like a music education program where somebody is learning how to play their instrument, they're learning how to get their ed degree and teaching a class, blah blah blah. Then all of a sudden you're a high school band director and you have to manage a budget, you have to order uniforms, you have to have a booster program, you have to do this, and it's just like, you don't learn that in school. But that is an awesome gig to be able to get to do that for those students.
Yeah, and it took a while to figure that out. Like, I go from Monarch and we're trying to win world class, and I come back to my rehearsals like, why don't we play that well? It's like, well, of course, I'm kind of a solo staff member. I have a couple alumni that'll come back every once in a while. Randy Miles is at the university. She's one of the dance professors, works with the color guard, so she'll help us with movement. But it's kind of a small but mighty team, and again, we're trying to spend more time. We put on a show, and we're trying to be competitive, and I like to think we do fairly well, especially, not having open auditions, only taking UTSA students. We're really proud of that, and still being competitive. But again, trying to grow the San Antonio area, there's really not a strong presence out here for indoor yet. I'd like to think that we're working on changing that as some of my students start graduating and moving on and, kind of getting their gigs. But yeah, it's very unique. It's, going to Monarch one weekend is very different than coming back to UTSA. And I truly do enjoy kind of the challenge, if you would, of getting that group to perform at a competitive level, but still offer a different experience.
Yeah, Texas is a unique, just kind of band world. The high school bands are just, and middle school programs are insane, especially in those bigger cities, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. But they really don't do indoor. The only 2 groups that I knew prior to Monarch, and one of them was newer, I guess, it's not even prior to Monarch. The only one I knew prior to Monarch was Tyler Junior College. And the only one high school that I really know from Texas that does indoor that comes to Dayton was that Burleson Centennial, where I think Luke Willingham used to be, but is no longer. If I remember that correctly. So I'm not sure. But yeah. Texas scene is unique. So
the ones that do it really well. Like Clearbrook, they're typically like a Scholastic Open champion, top 3 every year. Cy-Fair High School has been really good. North Shore High School was a world-class finalist in Scholastic as well. So, when they go for it, the training is there. They've got the understanding of how to do it. There's just such a different scene out here. The concert season is a big deal. They take it very seriously, and most groups that don't do indoor do concert percussion. They put on their own concerts. A lot of them are just absolutely stellar. They do solo contests. I know Reagan High School, they ask me every once in a while to judge their solo contests, and just seeing those kids perform at that level, they just have different ways to continue to develop. So there's definitely a scene that takes it seriously. And it's funny because you think there's not a lot of Texas groups that do it, but you go to some of these regionals down here, man, they're long days. There's a lot of groups. There's 40 groups at the Houston Regional every year. Same thing, Dallas has its own regional in that area. So it's strong. They don't necessarily all compete on the national level, but again, if you see it down here, it's pretty competitive.
Yeah, I've always wondered what it would look like if some of those groups just went full in on like, all right, let's see what we could do. Like Claudia Taylor Johnson, Marcus Keller, Ronald Reagan. I mean, the list goes on. Woodlands. I mean, there's just so many killer Vandergrift, killer percussion ensembles down there. Just like, but I also saw, I think it's at PASIC not PASIC, but Midwest in 2018. Like Marcus went, or somebody went, and I watched the percussion ensemble. I was like, this is insane.
Well, the fall season is so intense too. You're almost risking burnout, to be completely honest. I mean,
right.
We do have the 8-hour rule, which is nice. It allows you to have some semblance of a life outside of band, but they put a lot of effort and money and energy. All these families are super involved with the programs, and it's almost a little too much to continue through the spring semester. Not that it's not for everybody else, but
right. Definitely.
The high school band scene is pretty wild out here, man.
Yep. Well, I'd like to actually bring it back to drum corps for a quick minute here, if we want to, before we close this sucker out, because we're coming up on the hour mark here. I'm just curious, like you mentioned earlier in our discussion that you're at Mandarins now. You took that program over and you moved into it. Your first year there is the weird one-off COVID year, hopefully one-off COVID year. How did you guys approach that? Like once you knew that's the kind of situation you were undertaking, or what was happening in the world when you were taking the program over, how did you guys approach it? Did you have any differences in how you would approach a normal season? We've asked a few other people we've talked to about that kind of thing, so I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I think the big thing right away was if we're going to do this and we're going to get on the road and they're going to pay a member fee, we're going to try to deliver, at least as close as we can, a typical experience, as far as getting staff out there, getting the education, to be on the same level, getting the book to be similar to what we would play. There's definitely times where we thought about making sure that what we were going to do was achievable in the time that we did it. But that was the first thing. I think we were all in agreement, like, hey, if we're going to do this, and we're going to spend the time, the money, the energy on this, we're going to leave our families to go teach all summer. We're all in. So once we were there were some small protocols that were maybe just a little bit different, like masks in the food line and, masks inside the schools or wherever we were staying. Were different rules, but man, when we got outside and we started drumming, we arced it up. It kind of was refreshingly similar to the experience that you would be used to. I think the timeline was definitely the biggest difference. Once we came out of move-ins, it was like, all right, the show's got to be done. We don't have time to put a closer on, and going into the San Antonio Regional. If we got props in the show, those props are built and integrated and in the show before we leave move-ins. The book is not going to change. We hit the road and I don't like a section. Well, we don't have time to mess around with that, because again, these show days were practically all we had. We didn't even really have rehearsal days once you hit the road. So it's warm up or wake up, warm up, run through something, hit the book, load the bus, head to the show, do the same thing the next night. So I think we were smart about how we planned for that. And again, a non-competitive season. We try not to worry about that. I try not to worry about that, honestly. Anyways, we're kind of tasked to put a program together and be exciting to watch and, think more about putting on a great performance than scoring a bunch of points. So I don't think we thought much differently about that at all, to be honest. I just rambled for a while, so I'll stop and make sure I'm still on the right track.
No, you're good. Yeah.
All good.
I think that was probably the right way to go about it. I've heard other people talk to other people say the same thing. They just wanted to try to make it as normal as possible. Obviously you had your protocols you had to do and guidelines to follow with everything for safety reasons. And now it's cool.
And obviously the students and the members wanted to be there. So like, if they want to be there, we got to make sure we give it up.
Yep.
Well, it's always about that, man. This is not about me. This is not about the audience. I think the activity thrives when members come first.
Yeah.
And that's something that our team preaches and talks about. And I truly feel that way. That activity, I'm sure you guys are similar, have completely changed and altered the path of what I was doing. Who knows what I'd be doing right now?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for somebody to ask me to come, play rack one season and then just get hooked. So I think we all approach
There it is.
And most of
Full
our
circle.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And most of our team is the same way. We've got full-time jobs. We don't have to do it. We want to do it. And that changes the perception of, I think, the entire thing. It's just, we all want to be there. We enjoy making music. We like hanging out together. Hopefully, again, the members like being around that team. And it's a member-driven experience for us. I can at least speak for our group. I think it's similar to most places, but man, it's all about those performers and the members delivering what they expect to get.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think what you just said there kind of sums up to me why drum corps and indoor, respectively, are able to achieve such a high level. You have everybody on the same page in the sense of staff and members want to be there. Nobody is there because they have to get a credit for school. Nobody is there because their parents are making them be there and do it. Like, when you're in drum corps or an independent indoor drum line, everybody across, you might have random days where your head is not on straight for everybody, whatever, but overall, everybody wants to be there. Staff, members, everybody. So I think that element is, I think, part of why the groups are able to push as hard as they are and are able to achieve what they achieve, because you have that desire from every corner of the ring, basically.
Yep, 100%, man. And when you want to do something, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to dig in. You're going to want to know more. You're going to want to challenge yourself. You're going to want to push a little harder. I think that's probably the case across the board. So
yeah.
It's also just having that tunnel vision too. We all have such a specific goal. I mean, yeah, there's probably different things, and the bass drums are working on this skill and snare drums are working on that skill. But I mean, if you really think of it globally outside of drum corps, it's like, man, we're really hyper-focused on one silly little 10-minute program that happens so fast and is over before you even know it. And most of the time, people come to one show and see you one time. So I think that's one of the coolest things about the activities. Just we get so into our craft and our program and our production that, it doesn't happen very often elsewhere. Like even the basketball team, right? You work on skills and you work on, specific formations and strategies, but then you compete, multiple times, and it's just such a different. I'm sure it's different. I don't know. I grew up playing basketball, so that's what a lot of my analogies go there. But I don't know, man. I don't know if there's much like it.
No, it's definitely a unique animal, and it's, I think, it's part of the reason that I think we like it. It's just one of the only outlets where you do have that element of everybody focusing on the same thing at the same time for an extended period of time. And it doesn't happen in the world very often.
Yeah, one of my favorite analogies was one of our guys on staff, Kent Lineberry. He calls it death match painting, where it's like my art's better than your art, but it's got that competitive edge to it, or if you really look at it, it's like, how do you really get competitive with this? I mean, at some levels you can, but I think it's got enough of that competitive drive where you want to get a little higher score than you did last time, but it's also got that side of the teamwork, and again, that just creative side. Don't find it much elsewhere.
No, 100% agree, and I honestly, Evan, if you don't have anything else, I can't think of a better way to close this out than what we just talked about.
Right on. No, I'm good, man. I went through my little checklist here, so.
All right, well, I'll quickly go through a little outro, similar to the intro for those still listening. Subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments on YouTube if you want to join the conversation at all. Check out social media, Facebook, Instagram, patreon.com for financial support. Make sure you go hit up Lone Star Percussion. Save yourself $10 on any order, $50 or more with the code AGEDOUT at checkout. I think that's it, right? Yeah, I got it all again. Cool. Everybody, Ben, this has been amazing. Thanks for hanging out with us. And everybody else, we will see you all in the next one.
Peace.